mean, the roller coaster, when they can get that working properly and can get people on it, and even the booking system just more functional so the whole app doesn't crash, then I think that's going to be wonderful, like when they get there.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, do your jingle.
Yeah, simply the best, better than all the rest.
All right, this week's review comes from Bach Tiger, is in the composer Bach.
Oh,
so Bach
like
Tiger,
B-A-C-H Bach. Okay.
Yes. Who writes, love the DCL Duo. I really enjoy this podcast. I like that Sam and Brian are so different in their opinions. Yes, we are. And they are open to bringing guests with different opinions too. I love DCL comparisons to other cruise lines, and I love to hear how to take advantage of all the hidden new cruise features on DCL. We are platinum on DCL, and we still find new stuff to do thanks to your show. Keep podcasting and bringing your style. All right, Sam, we got to start.
Oh, I love it. I love that they comment on how different we are, because we really are. It's funny, you know, we're a married couple. For those who, I don't know if you've been living under a rock and don't realize that, but we're a married couple. But we have there's a lot of things we have in common. There's a lot of things different about each of us, and we like different things about the cruise line, and we dislike different things about the cruise line, and then sometimes we of course agree on things. So yeah, that's awesome. Love that. What a great review. All right. Yes. Well, Brian,
well, hold on, I gotta say thank you, Bach Tiger, for that review. And for everyone else listening, remember, one of the easiest ways to help support the show, if you're on Apple Podcasts, hit those 5 stars. If you leave us a written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes. And if you're on the other platforms, give us those popcorn buckets, thumbs up, hearts, I don't know, all the things.
Just not Rotten Tomatoes. Don't give us Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, we want to keep a fresh rating if we can. So just hit those things, rate us. It helps move us up in the listing so more people can find us. And with that, Sam, why don't I throw it back to you to introduce our guest?
Yes, I'm super excited. It still blows my mind that we have people listening to us outside of like our friends and family. Although, to be fair, Brian's parents don't listen to us at all. But I just think it's like wild that we have people all the way across the Pacific Ocean, like 17-hour time difference, basically, she's living in the future right now, because today it's Saturday as we're recording, and it's Sunday for her. It's Sunday morning for her. And she got up at 8 o'clock in the morning to record with us. Welcome, Lauren, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to chat to you guys.
We are so excited to chat to you too. I love that phrase, by the way, chat to you. We say chat with you in the US, but I actually prefer the way you all say it, chat to you. I think that's, I don't know, it's just cute. Well, we got to talk. We're going to talk about Back to Back on the Adventure, which is kind of wild, because this morning I was telling Lauren I was recording with somebody from the UK who was on the adventure, and I actually think that Lauren and Claire, our other guests, I think they were probably on at the same time. But Lauren, you have sailed on Disney Cruise Line before on the Wonder Down Under, as we like to say. I gotta say, before you started sailing on Disney Cruise Line, tell us, did you have a love for Disney, or was it the cruise line that got you into Disney? I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah, so I guess like most people, you know, growing up in the 80s, the 90s, you know, there was a lot of Disney just in everyday life. We loved those movies, you know, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, all of that stuff. Then probably, you know, grew up, I guess, outgrew it a little bit for a while. And then when I had my own kids, you know, that's what you sort of go to, isn't it, with your children sometimes. And then I think as well, like just Moana, Encanto, you know, I just really realised I was actually enjoying them for myself as well as like popping them on for the kids. So when it came time to look at holidays, we sort of and ahed about what to do, where to go. And we actually ended up at Aulani. We were in Hawaii. And we stayed there we did it as part of like a bigger trip. So we stayed there for a week in amongst other places, and we just had the best time. And then at that point, I think the cruise line had announced that they were coming to Australia, but they hadn't started sailing yet. My husband was a bit reluctant. He wasn't sure that cruising was for him. We'd never done a cruise before on any cruise line, and sort of had that perception maybe that, I don't know, it was for an older demographic. But, 3 nights out of Melbourne, it was easy. We didn't have to catch a flight. We live about 20 minutes from, where we boarded. So we just were like, let's give it a whirl. And then he was very pleasantly surprised with how much he enjoyed it. He loved it. And I enjoyed it exactly as much as I thought I would, which was a lot. And my kids loved it. So, yeah, we just really, really enjoyed the wonder. So we did one each season we did 2 out of Melbourne, 1 out of Sydney.
I have to say, I'm jealous because I want to drive 20 minutes and sail out of our home city, which, I mean, we should be able to, but Disney doesn't sail out of Seattle anymore. They used to sail out of Seattle to Alaska many, many years ago, but now they only sail out of Vancouver. And we keep talking about how awesome it would be to like take an Uber or a Lyft like to the port, literally, 20 minutes from our house and be able to sail.
It's the best.
Yeah, I just can't. I can, and even Sydney's not. I mean, I know it's a drive for you all, but it's not that far. You're on the same coast, right?
Exactly, and we happened to be sort of just south of Sydney at that time, anyway. So it just kind of worked out. But yeah, exactly. The only problem with the Australian itineraries, I think, they were very, very bland. Like there was just, which I think might have been the idea anyway. It was just a little taste to try and get people into the idea. But yeah, we were just literally sailing around 3 days sort of to nowhere. So
Yeah. Well, I know they went to like a couple of stops like Hobart and like there are places that you all have probably been, so they weren't like places to go and see for you.
Exactly. And that stretch of water is fairly treacherous between Melbourne and Hobart. I've done that before on a passenger ferry. It wasn't really a cruise line, but you take your car and I never felt so sick. Like it can just be really, really rough. So when you're thinking of planning your holiday, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's a lake, but other times it's a washing machine. And you're just like, it's a risk you take. And we didn't really want to take that, for our holiday.
Totally get that. All right, so you sailed on the Wonder 3 times, and all 3 times fairly convenient to you all, obviously. Now, you decided to sail on the Adventure out of Singapore. Now, I'm going to say this. Singapore is way more convenient for you all than it is for us, but it's not exactly convenient. It's not like it's next door. Like what was the decision making like? And did you consider doing something else like coming to the States and taking a cruise, or were you like, wow, there's like another ship that's going to be in our hemisphere. We got to go to Singapore.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a mix. We actually have family in Singapore and we had a trip planned there in 2020, which obviously didn't go ahead for obvious COVID reasons. So we'd had a trip, planned there already. So when the ship was announced, we'd sort of always had in the back of our mind that we wanted to go back, see our family. So that made it quite an easy decision for us just to, be able to do both things. But it is interesting, like whenever we'd meet, in a taxi or whatever in Singapore, you'd say you're Australian. They'd be like, you're close by. Like there is that definite feeling of like, I don't know, maybe it's because just Australia is so far from everywhere.
Everything else, right, except for New Zealand. Yeah,
exactly right. Exactly. So it just kind of feels like it does feel close to us, Asia. Most people have done that leg, lots of times. America, obviously, we would love to go, but I think I've got 3 kids, and at the moment, just that trip to Florida is like a marathon.
Yeah. I mean, it's really far, and then you're paying for 5 seats on a plane, which is also really expensive, right? So, yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So when they're older, hopefully.
Yeah. Now, how old are your kids?
7, 10, and 12.
Oh, so great cruising ages. We got some Oceaneers Club in there and an Edge kid in there. So your oldest is the same age as Nathan. I love that. So now did they all enjoy cruising on the Wonder, and were they excited to check out a different ship?
Oh yeah, they loved it. Like going on the Wonder was just it was their favorite thing. They were always asking. We almost didn't do a third sailing because we thought they were continually coming back to Melbourne. When they announced, though, that they were cutting the Australian cruises we definitely jumped on because, yeah, my kids loved it. So I think it's been such a good holiday for us because the whole family is happy, you know. We can all do whatever we want to make the holiday sort of our own. And that's tricky in other places and other types of holidays. You know, usually someone's kind of being dragged along to something they maybe don't want to do, you know. Whereas
Totally,
this,
totally. Well, the
yeah,
cruise is so, like, insulated that you do feel, I mean, I don't know, I don't wanna speak for you, but I feel like we feel very safe and comfortable letting Nathan do his what he wants to do independently. Not every kid is going to be like that, but I think if you have a kid that is responsible enough to be independent, you can feel very comfortable that nothing's going to happen to them on the sailing, even though we wouldn't let him, like, go out on his own in, out in the world otherwise.
absolutely. Yeah, it's such a good, like, little kind of training ground, I guess, for that sort of responsibility. Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Well, okay, so you were heading to Singapore to do a back-to-back cruise, also see some family. I gotta ask, how long is the flight from Melbourne to Singapore?
It's about 8 hours.
Okay, so still a long flight. I mean, it's like us flying to Hawaii or to well, to Europe is a little bit longer, but yeah, it's like us flying to Europe pretty much.
That's so
Um,
amazing. You guys are so lucky.
I mean, for you guys, anywhere you wanna go is a long flight, like I said, except for maybe within Australia, but even if you're going to west coast of Australia, it's
Oh, yeah,
far.
like, even to, like, Darwin's about 5 hours, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so okay, so you've got this long-ish flight. I'm imagining you're getting there at least a day before, if not more. Where did you all stay? And did you stay with family or did you stay in like the, marina area?
So, when we arrived 2 days early. I've been burnt badly in the past Taylor Swift eras to a, flight cancellation. We made it, but we had to drive. It was chaos. Yeah, like renting a car at the airport and fanging it down to Sydney. So I was so paranoid. So we left 2 days before. And we stayed actually for those first 2 days because we knew we were going to be in Singapore City after. We stayed at the zoo, the like rainforest resort area, which was,
That's so cool.
yeah,
They have a resort at the zoo?
it's called an area called Mandai, and they've got like 4 zoos in Singapore, all sorts of different kind of zoos with different focus, animals and rivers and night safaris. It's very cool. So that was awesome.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Now, did you spend your time at the zoo then during like one of the days you were in town?
Yeah. So the first full day that we had, we only had one full day. We did like a breakfast with the orangutans and, walked around the zoo. And I mean, it's like as hot as the surface of the sun in Singapore. So we couldn't spend the whole day, doing exactly what we wanted. But yeah, it was great. It was a really good soft landing to kind of before the cruise.
Awesome. That sounds incredible. It's so funny you say the surface of the sun. That's how what we talk when we talk about going to Orlando in the summer, that's how we describe it. It's as hot as the surface of the sun. And that's a lot of people are telling us that Singapore is like that, like maybe year round.
I mean, I'm really curious to hear your guys. Like, I know we'll get to sort of the ship in a bit, but the heat is unbelievable. Like, and it's so oppressive. Yeah. And I think coming from Melbourne, we've come home and it's still like 26 degrees today. So it's not cold and it's only 29 in Singapore, but it's just this type of heat that's, I don't know. It's very, very overwhelming,
Yeah. Well, and it's
and tiring.
that wet, humid heat. Yeah. So
Exactly.
so you
And
don't
yeah,
feel
I
like
don't think
you can
they
breathe.
have those sort of seasons, even at night, it doesn't really cool down that much, it's just always hot.
Wow. All right. Well, I want to talk about that in relation to, of course, the ship when we get there. But let's start with any pre-planning stuff. I'm curious, did you do any pre-booking of activities? You're silver cast, well, now you're gold. So welcome to gold. But you were silver when booking these cruises. Were there things that you wanted to pre-book? From what we've been hearing, there's lots of availability for things because most of the audience is first time cruisers and they are wanting to experience the ship and not pay for premium activities. But I'm curious, were you all looking to book any of those add-on activities, drink tastings, adult dining, anything like that?
Yeah, so we did, we booked Prima Notte, which I hadn't seen on the Wonder. It was potentially there and I just missed it or it got sold out very quickly. So we did that and we did Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique for my two
Oh,
daughters. Yeah.
nice. Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
so fun.
plenty of availability, like no problem.
Awesome. And of course, there's no port stops, so there's no shore excursions to book. What port arrival time did you get, and how did you all get to the port?
Yep. So I think we were 11:45 ish, which was perfect by the time we sort of checked out of our hotel. And then we just caught like, they have Grab. It's like an Uber situation, very easy, like super efficient. Our driver was 3 minutes late and we got a $10 credit. Like everything runs beautifully there. So yeah, that was easy. It was very straightforward. And then the drive was probably half an hour. You know, Singapore's quite small. It's just can be a bit congested in the traffic. But yeah, it was very easy.
Nice. Now you're doing a back-to-back. Are you doing the 3-night first, the 4-night first?
So the first cruise was 4 nights. And then the second cruise, we actually had my sister and her two children join us. So my nephews were also on the second cruise. Yeah.
Oh, fun. That's awesome. Well, how did the boarding process go? We've heard that's been the thing that's been the smoothest boarding, and even on back-to-back sailing, we've heard that that's been a very smooth process. I'm curious if that was your experience.
Absolutely. The boarding that first cruise was so seamless. Like, I mean, it was quite good in Melbourne too, to be honest. Like, we didn't have any complaints for the Wonder. But just considering the scale of how many people they had to get through, you know, we were sort of prepared for a bit of a wait and, you know, it's new and they're learning new things, new systems, but it was flawless. Like that first embarkation. The second one, though, we did have some troubles just with the back-to-back. We never got the information that we required, what to do, where to go. And I think I'd heard on, maybe it was you guys saying that you should have something the night before.
The night
And then
before,
when
yeah, they
we,
usually leave a letter for you either in your stateroom or on your the fish extender is what they do on the other ships, but they usually leave one the night before. It's a letter, and then in it has a little back-to-back cards, and it also tells you where to go. So obviously you didn't get that.
no. And then I think we got back to our stateroom and it was about 10:30 when I realized, oh, we don't have that letter. And I tried calling down to guest services and they were just like, oh, don't worry, just kind of, you know, in the morning, just find your stateroom host. She'll tell you what to do, sort of thing. And we were a bit like, okay. And then the morning came and we were sort of like, hello, like the ship was empty and we were not sure what to do. So it was fine. It worked out. But yeah, there was just a bit of miscommunication there. And because you've got to re-enter Singapore, you've got to re-go through customs. It was just probably trickier than like, I mean, I'm sure that's common in US sailings, but in Australia, because they were just in domestic waters, you know, you didn't even need your passport to go. You could just take your birth certificate. It was very straightforward. So
Yeah,
Did you
we
have
have
the
to
same room
take
on both?
passports.
Did you have the same room on both sailings?
yes, so that was awesome.
In US back-to-back sailings, if you're leaving out of a US port, you still have to have your passport with you for the back-to-back part because we always are leaving the country when we're going because they have to stop at a foreign port. So even if we're leaving out of the US, you need to have your passport, or if you're sailing on a birth certificate, you need to have that with you. But you can't just have like your driver's license. That's not good enough. So because you are doing the check-in and everything, and you do actually go through. We actually go through immigration when we're getting off the ship, not when we're coming on the ship. If that makes sense. But I know at Singapore you're doing it in both directions from what we've heard. Well, let's talk about you're boarding the ship the first time. Smooth sailings as far as check-in process. We know you don't board into an atrium. But what's your first like experience on the ship? Like, do you know? Obviously, you don't really know where to go because you haven't been on the ship before, and it's a very different layout. But what did you all end up doing sort of that first day and those first moments on board?
Yeah, so that embarkation, my kids love that announcing the name, so I had to lower some expectations because I'd heard that they weren't doing that. But vibes were so high. We were all so excited. The kids were just jumping up and down with joy to be on that boat. So we sort of, I think when you embark, you're kind of near Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. So you sort of walk down a corridor, but you can see, it feels Disney, there's a lot of stuff that makes you just feel that Disney feeling, I guess. But honestly, that first day was just exploring, and I think my husband and I, we were talking, that first day was something like 30 flights of stairs and 20,000 steps. Like, the ship is so big.
So big. It's much bigger than the Wonder, especially.
Exactly. And we have a rule that we don't use the elevators, which was tested many times on this cruise because it was so many stairs. We just explored, and it takes hours to really explore, I think, like to properly do each sort of deck and figure out where things are. And yeah.
I gotta say, like, we don't have a rule that we never take the elevator, but I feel like a rule of, like, if you're going less than, I don't know, 4 decks or something like that, then if you're going less than 4 decks, no elevator. If you're going more than that,
or it's immediately following the muster drill. Like, no way
Yes.
anywhere.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You take the stairs. Yeah.
There was escalators on this ship, which helped because otherwise, you can't really do 9 flights of stairs, or I guess you can, but it's not much fun for anyone. So, taking the escalator up to, I think you could take it up to deck 10, and then, but I did cheat. Absolutely. I caught the lift.
Well, we gotta ask about stateroom. I'm curious. You're a family of 5, so you've got certain stateroom requirements. What kind of stateroom did you get, and what did you think about it?
This is definitely, we preferred the Wonder. We couldn't get one that sleeps 5 on the Adventure unless you're sort of upper concierge, But is it deluxe with veranda? They only sleep 4, so we had to have interconnecting.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a shame for larger families. But the interconnecting, it was fine. My kids are sort of old enough that we could put them in one, and me and my hubby had the other. The only thing was, like, the staterooms were just, obviously it wasn't set for 5 people, but they just felt so much smaller and tighter than on the Wonder. And, like, our stateroom attendant never changed the bed back to a couch, so it was always out as a bed, which was fine. We were barely in the room, but it just kind of, when you were in there, it was tight. Like, it was, so yeah. It was fine, but yeah.
That is odd for Disney service, because one of the things that we've sailed on Royal Caribbean, and Royal Caribbean, they don't make up your bed every day, right? Like, if you're using the couch as a bed, it stays as a bed because they only come and service your room once. And most of the other cruise lines, aside from Disney, service your room only once. And so if you have that situation, you've got whatever the bed situation is, the beds are open, as opposed to turning it back to a couch. Whereas on Disney Cruise Line, because you've got that service in the morning and service in the evening, they switch it back and forth. But that's interesting. I've never heard on Disney of it being that way, but I wonder if I don't know if it's that stateroom attendant was just shortcutting, or if it's an issue of that's what they're doing on the Adventure, because they're doing things different operationally, as we've come to find out on the Adventure. Some of that's to be expected, some of it's a little bit surprising, but that might be one difference there. There
were definitely noticeable differences between the Wonder and the Adventure, like considerable differences between, on the Wonder. I remember the people who were in our stateroom obviously were, prior to us, did have an interconnecting room because they'd left the veranda door open, and we didn't realize that it was banging, and we just called down and just said, hey, can someone just lock the veranda door? And they were there within like 10 minutes. And then the next time we got to our room, there was like a card in the fish extender thing saying, hey, 5 free popcorns, sorry for the inconvenience. We were like, inconvenience? Like, that was nothing.
What inconvenience?
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas this, we were laughing about that on this cruise because we had a fair few things pop up. And I was like, remember when we got those free popcorns for the balcony, like the tiniest little issue? And my hubby was like, oh, they just couldn't do that here. They'd have no popcorn.
Oh God. Okay. Wow. Okay. They didn't know they would be out of popcorn for every. Okay. So I gotta ask you about some of these. I want to. We're just gonna dive right in before we even talk about some of the entertainment. Like I want to know some of were some of the hiccups that you experienced, and I'm sure some of them are more minor than others. But like we want to know this stuff, and we want to be able to share this stuff because I do think the really important thing for people to know if they're going on the adventure is this is a very different ship and you have to have different expectations of what the experience is like. And I want people to know that before they book it so they can make an educated decision about whether or not they want to book the adventure and fly over to Singapore. For us from the US, it's very far away. Or if they maybe want to put their money elsewhere and go on, I don't know, the Treasure or go over to Europe and do a Sailing on the Dream this summer, right? So yeah, I'd love to know what some of those, tell us some of the hiccups that you experienced.
Sure. So, I mean, the back-to-back one was a big one at the time just because we were very confused about what to do. But we also had a plumbing issue in our bathroom. Middle of the night, we were up for probably an hour, 90 minutes trying to get someone, just repeatedly calling down to guest services. Is anyone coming up? Sort of situation at 3 a.m. The roller coaster, which at one point, the way that they're doing it is obviously on the app, but it crashes the app to the point that you can't even message, each other, the other parties in your stateroom. So the whole app dies for like 2 hours every day.
Oh my God. Because everybody's on the app trying to book the roller coaster at noon or whatever.
Exactly right. So we found that the first day it was fine because they didn't open the roller coaster. And even this first full day, so the second day, I think most people maybe didn't know that they had to go on at midday. But the third and fourth days at midday, that would crash every time. So that was just frustrating because, we've got kids and we give them just an old iPhone that we've got, like an old one of ours, and they can't contact you. And, it's like we were saying before about giving them that freedom, but it's so well contained when you've got the app and the ability to message each other. And so that was a bit, I just think, the roller coaster whole system, they just need a better. And we were in line at guest services because, spoiler, we did get on the roller coaster, but, I think that's only because we had 7 full days to try. But when we were in line, I was actually chatting with an American passenger, and he was saying that he was going to escalate the complaint because poor guest services, these poor people just copping the brunt of everyone's frustration of, because sometimes the app you'll be able to select a time, but you don't know if it's been confirmed. The app will crash almost every time. So it's like, did I get a spot? Did I not? And there's no real way to check. You kind of have to go to guest services or just try your luck going up to the roller coaster and seeing if you've got a spot. So poor guest services, they were very overwhelmed, I think, by that. So this passenger was like, I'm going to write a formal complaint and hopefully get it escalated to just change procedure, I guess.
Since you got a chance to ride it, I don't think we've had anyone who's really been able to ride it on the show yet. So how was it?
I didn't go on. I didn't. I gave up my spot for my daughter and my nephew. So we could only get 2 people on. They loved it though. Like my daughter said it was her favorite part of the whole thing. And so it was beautiful, and they were on at sunset and it looked gorgeous. And we actually met one of the roller coaster engineers. My husband made friends with him at Buccaneers at the pub. He was just, obviously clocked off for the day and having a beer. And anyway, he was sort of saying that I think they were quite I don't want to say sidetracked, but the heat really took them by surprise, which is kind of an interesting thing, seeing as it's based in Singapore for so long. I don't know how they're going to fix that. But he said as well that they're only running it for 4 or 5 hours every day. But he said if it was on a different cruise line, he's like, it would be running 12 hours. He's like, Disney are just being so safe with this that the amount that they're running it, they can't get probably half the guests, on the ride. because it's only running a few hours.
What about the other rides up on the top deck? Did you get to experience any of those?
So I did with my son, is it Groot? I've forgotten the name, sorry, but it's like the one that sort of rises and lowers. And that was fine. Like that, no lines. You could just walk on. My son's 7. He did it like 3 or 4 times in a row. Every day he'd go up and he'd just want to go. The one that's like the cars that drive around in a circle, that was, I mean, for such a really straightforward experience, that was comedic. Like the amount of stops and starts and sort of errors and things that happened on that ride. In the end, my kids just got off. They were just like, nah, no more.
Really? So that ride was having problems too then?
Yeah. I think if you hit the side or you hit another car, it just shuts down. Like they're trying to stop it becoming, I guess, like dodgem cars or bumper cars. They just are it literally has to just be the sort of slowest moving ride. Like it was just very, very, I think my kids were probably too old for it. So they were it wasn't worth that trouble.
I don't know that Pim's Racers is worth it for anyone. I heard from the guests we talked to, I talked to this morning, that they weren't running very often. Probably the same issue, and constantly getting getting tripped by the fact that they're bumping into each other when they're not supposed to, or something like that. So
it was that ride. It's a bit of a fail, to be honest. I think that one. The other two, I mean, the roller coaster, when they can get that working properly and can get people on it, and even the booking system just more functional, so the whole app doesn't crash, then I think that's going to be wonderful, like when they get there.
Well, glitches seem to happen, and it's funny because it's the first of its kind, and it will be the only of its kind, I'm sure. It's not something that they had a lot of ability to test. Now, they did do some virtual queue testing with the water slide on the Wish, the Aqua Mouse. They did it using probably, as I understand it, the exact system that they are currently using on the Adventure. But it's on a much smaller scale, and it's, so that's doing it as a test here and there is not the same as having it operational every day with 6,000 passengers trying to get reservations.
Yeah.
So,
and those reservations would just go within like, we got on, it was 11:59, and I just happened to be, I'd actually said to myself I was going to stop trying, because it was kind of starting to get me down a bit every day, trying to get it right, and I just said to myself, nah, we'll just skip it. Like, it's not that important. 11:59, I just happened to be in getting lunch, and I jumped on, and they'd loaded it early, like a minute early or whatever, the access. So I got it straight away. But yeah, I mean, we joked it was like getting Taylor Swift tickets as well. Like, you just real luck of the draw.
A lottery.
If you got it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bit of a boondoggle there. Well, I'm curious if you had that issue with character meet and greets. Now, you'd been on the Wonder, so you'd already met a lot of characters on the Wonder, probably more than were even available. But there's some different ones available, of course, on the Adventure. I'm curious, well, one, did you book Royal Gathering? Because that's one way, of course, to see a few princesses. Where you are doing that in advance and not having to book it on the ship. And then I'm curious, how did you all fare with getting reservations for, I don't know, like Baymax or any other characters?
We didn't do Royal Gathering. My girls, I was even a bit surprised they wanted to do Bibbidi Bobbidi just at 10 and 12. But spoiler, Bibbidi Bobbidi was also their favourite. So that was still a big success at that age. So we didn't do Royal Gathering, but we did, I did get a meeting with Baymax because my son loves Big Hero 6, but I couldn't get him out of Oceaneers to go. So I ended up cancelling the slot. He didn't want to leave Kids Club.
But Lauren, why didn't you just go and meet Baymax yourself?
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, come on. That's what I would listen. I want a full, like, I'm completely being transparent, full transparency here. The character meet and greets that I drag Nathan to, they're not for Nathan, they're for me. They're for me.
That is funny because I did actually run into my kids while I was in line for Donald Duck without them because Donald's my favorite. So I got very excited when I saw him. I got in line and then they were like, "Hey, Mum!"
Yeah.
But yeah, so Baymax is the only one that we really tried for, and like the rest we just kind of are happy to wander around the ship. And you always get I love that interaction that's sort of a bit more organic when you're just walking around. And like we were on deck 10, which is the beautiful like outdoor sort of spaces, and we ran into Pluto and he was chasing me and my daughters like playfully, like trying to give us a lick. And I don't know, that was really fun. So most of our character interactions were very organic, I guess, in that sense. So yeah, but it was hard, like booking characters. They were going on the app like straight away.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. I think the impromptu or organic like character meets are the most fun because you are catching them as they're moving through space rather than in this sort of organized queue. And so you tend to get more interaction often, unless they're being rushed for a break or something like that. But I just find those to be really, really fun.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode.
We've got to talk about shows, of course, but I want to start with the shows in the Imagination Garden, which we call them deck shows on other ships. I don't know I'm just going to call them the Imagination Garden shows because it's not really it's not on a pool deck. It's in this space in the center or one of the center areas of the ship. So did you go with 2 cruises? I'm guessing you had an opportunity to go to all of the shows if you wanted to. Like, I guess there's the Sail Away, there's the Duffy and Friends Friendship or whatever it's called, and then the Avengers show as well. I don't know if I'm missing any, but those are the ones I can think of.
Moana.
Oh, Moana, but that's at Wayfinder Bay, right? Okay. So, did you get to go to all of those shows? And if so, I'd love to know what you thought of them.
We actually missed Sail Away. Like, I don't know. I feel like on the Wonder that's impossible to miss, because it's such a thing. Like, it's a real, I guess, a standout of embarkation days, the Sail Away party. Whereas these ones were sort of every maybe hour, every 45 minutes. I'm not sure, sort of a rolling thing. And I don't know if it was just that feeling of like, oh, we can go to another one, or it just never really had that same communal feel as the Sail Away on the Wonder, where sort of most people are there and it's, the horn, and I don't know. So we sort of, and the other thing is too, it's so hot. So those, that area is gorgeous, the Imagination Garden and the reef. It's beautiful, but it doesn't have any sea breeze, no shade. It's just like the
no
ship.
breeze, because it's just open from above, so there's nothing flowing through. Yeah.
So like to stand there for an hour or whatever it's a big thing. So we didn't do that for Sail Away. We'd also seen the Marvel show on the Wonder because they did that show. So we'd seen that twice. The Duffy and Friends one, I don't know if we caught the end of it, or maybe it was just them maybe doing more of a meet and greet. They had the friendship background, but it was literally just them sort of waving at everyone, and my daughter's like, this can't be the show. Like, what's happening here? So I think we mistimed that. And then again, because of the heat, I think that trade-off,
It's
I guess
hard.
it is hard. Yeah, you really need to be invested in the show to stand there. You know.
Yeah. Well, and the guest I was talking to this morning, she was saying, like, not only there's no shade, but there's no fans or misters or anything, and it's just she said it's brutal in there. Like, she said it was really rough to be there. The one thing she said that was good about it was they were having people sit, and so you could actually sit and watch, and you didn't have and if people stood up in front of you, the cast members were telling everybody to sit. 'Cause everybody needs to be seated or everybody needs to be standing, right? You can't have it both ways. But yeah, but it sounds like, and I'm curious if it was the same experience at Wayfinder Bay with Moana, if you
Absolutely.
yeah, because we
Yeah,
hear that
and
area has very little shade as well.
all we kept thinking while we were sort of watching these shows, we did that exercise with Baymax. We didn't actually do the exercise. We were on the pool deck looking down, but we were like, oh my gosh, that person, like whoever's these actors or cast members who are playing these parts would just be, oh my gosh, so hot. Like Moana, that area, that Wayfinder Bay is gorgeous, but it gets the full sun from about 9 a.m. And we found a place you could sort of hang back in the shade more towards a bar and watch it. But even still, they had that sort of roped off because they obviously didn't want that section to become overwhelmed with people. And like the pool decks as well, my kids, we were having trouble getting them on the water slide because the pool decks was so hot, their feet were burning. They ran out on there one morning and we had to like get some ice from the drink machine because my daughter was like screaming her foot was so hot from the deck. And they wanted to go on the water slide, but they had to obviously walk up the stairs to go on it, and there was nowhere to put their shoes at the top. And, when it was just like logistically kind of like, so me or my sister would sort of follow them up, hold their shoes while they went on the water slide, come back down. Yeah. So it was just like the misters or fans or something just to like generally cool the area, I think is like, because that's all over Singapore, when you go into the city itself, there's massive fans everywhere. And, they've sort of figured out, I guess, how to deal with their heat. Just hasn't quite caught up to the boat, it's not quite there yet.
I wonder if the hope, I guess, is that they'll figure out and put some shade covers at least out in certain areas, because that's probably the best they can do, and frankly, the easiest they could probably do. And they'd have to put ones that they can take down and put back up, right? Because if they are moving the ship fast, they're not going to be able to have shade covers hanging. They'll fly off the ship. But at least when they're really circling out in the ocean quite slowly. So there's really no reason why during the day they can't have some shade covers up in those spaces that really get, that oppressive sun. Now, I'm curious about the shows in the theaters. Of course, now you hadn't seen Seize the Adventure because it's only on the Wish class and now on the Adventure, and then Remember is of course new. Now I know that the cruise line assigns you a specific time for those shows. And then if you can't make those times, then you can try and just queue up, for whatever space might be available at a different time. But they're not in the app. They're not listed to tell you those other times because they want you to go to the one that you're assigned to go to. I'm curious how that went. Were people orderly in their queuing? Because I'm seeing reports on Facebook of people shoving and it like people almost getting trampled. I don't know how much to believe when I see that stuff on Facebook, but I'm curious what your experience was as far as, going to the shows and were people, I don't know, were people obeying the rules, I guess. Yeah.
I didn't mind necessarily that they booked you in for the show. It was very logical the way they did it. We had early dining, so we were on the later show, and that was our pre-booked session. So that made sense to me. So that worked well. But yeah, we did have to get there. I think for Seize the Adventure, which was our first in the theatre sort of show, maybe night 2, we were there probably 30 minutes before, and the line and the queue was already, down past Olaf's restaurant. So it was chockers. We didn't notice anything. People were quite orderly, I think, going to that show. With Remember, though, we witnessed a little verbal altercation between two strangers in the theatre, one of which was saving a seat for their partner who was up getting a drink and whatever, and definitely something you don't expect to see on a Disney ship, a family ship. So,
well, and I always get so I get annoyed when I see somebody saving like an entire row, right? Because it's not a situation where their whole family's in the bathroom. But I totally don't get annoyed when they're saving 1 or 2 seats because probably their partner and their kids are in the bathroom or getting popcorn or getting drinks, right? Like that's normal. That's not the saving seats that is not allowed. That's just like normal. We went into the theater together, we got our seats, and then one left to go get a drink, or we queued up together and one went in line for popcorn and the other went to get the seats, right? So to me, it's like and I think it's really hard for Disney Cruise Line to enforce these rules because of that situation, right? Because you've got a family of 5, for example, a family like yours. Let's say you all went into the theater, you, your husband, all 3 kids, you sit down, and then the 2 girls need to go to the bathroom. Well, guess what? You, Lauren, and the 2 girls are headed to the bathroom. Your husband and son are the only 2 sitting there saving 5 seats now, right? Like that's normal. That happens. So
it was hard to watch. And then I think it's just the stakes are kind of high. You got that feeling, especially that first cruise, everyone was trying to do everything and get everywhere. And
scarcity.
Yeah, there was that real
it's a supply and demand scarcity vibe. Yeah,
it's just not
a
quite meeting. No. So whereas the second cruise, maybe it was our own, just let's let that go. Like I was saying about the roller coaster, I just let it go, because you just made for a better time. But my sister was able to walk in to Remember. She couldn't go to her assigned show for that, and she just went into like a standby line for a matinee, and she was able to see it that way too. So it did work, the standby queues, but yeah, I think it's luck more than good planning, if that makes sense. It's just
no, that does make sense. That happens in the parks too when you're trying for a virtual queue, and sometimes it's just luck, right? And it's not always good planning. You just get lucky. Well, I'd love to hear what you thought about the dining experience. I know that there's 2 separate rotations. We got 6 rotational restaurants. One goes to the Hollywood Spotlight, and the other one goes to the Navigators, right? So did you get to do both rotations? And what was did you have a preference between them? And what did you think of like food quality and service and all of that?
Oh, the food was outstanding. I thought that was I don't mean to compare it to the Wonder all the time, but it's kind of hard not to, but I think that was a real outstanding highlight for me of this cruise, even after 7 days, because 7 days of food on the Wonder, I think I would have been like really quite ready to, have something else. But
well, if you did a back to back, yes, but if you don't, if you do a longer sailing, you get more different variety of menus, right? But if you do back to back on any of the ships, you're getting repeats of the menus, and that's the problem. Yeah. So if you get like a 7-night on the Wonder, you'll be fine. It's if you have to do a 4 and a 3 and
the
a 4
same
and a 3.
again. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the food was great. So we originally had the Navigators rotation, and we had we'd had the best servers this cruise. They were both sailings were fantastic. And we loved our first server so much that when we said, oh, can we, we're doing a back-to-back, and she was like, oh, you're going on the other rotation. But she's like, if you want to come back and do this rotation. And we ummed and ahed about it just because she was so good. But then we were like, no, come on, we're going to do the other rotation, obviously. But then we had an absolutely amazing guy for the second rotation too. But I'd say if you had to only do one rotation, I would definitely do the Hollywood Spotlight. That restaurant was so great. It had wonderful food, and we were on an early sitting, and we were still in port in Singapore, and just like the view in there with this Art Deco kind of feel, it felt really special and really fun. So
is that was the one that's on the back of the ship with the windows? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
It looks
gorgeous.
beautiful from the outside, from the just pictures from the outside, it looks amazing. I will say you and Claire, my Brit that I talked to earlier today, agree. If you have to choose between rotations, Hollywood, Spotlight is the one to choose. She mentioned that that's only like 400 people in that rotation, and there's like 700 people in the other rotation.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's also she thought the food quality was better in that rotation as well. So I'm curious, did you have the same experience on the food?
Absolutely. Like, we much preferred the food that second time, but I didn't realize that they had a less kind of, yeah, head count, I guess, to cook for.
I wonder if that may not be true on every sailing, though, Sam.
Well, no, it has to do with the size of the restaurants. So it does. Remember, some of the restaurant they had. This is the issue with getting a ship who was built by somebody else, and the spaces that are built out is you don't have control over how large those spaces are, and you can't really change those things because they're structural. Like you can change and convert the casino to something else, but the dining areas have to be the areas that are attached to where the kitchen is, and you can't change where the kitchen is. The kitchen's already, all of the electrical and all that stuff, everything's designed for the kitchen to be in this one spot, or kitchens, I should say, because there's obviously multiple ones. So there's like, you really can't do a huge amount of changes with where dining is located. Now, of course, they may have broken it up into smaller spaces, but there's only so much changes to do. So that's the thing. That's my perception of why it maybe worked out that way. But I don't know. Somebody who works for the company, I'm sure, could explain it
Well,
better
that
than I
does
could.
actually make a bit of sense because the Pixar marketplace, that restaurant or the buffet, is definitely bigger than the Olaf and Tangled themed sort of space that's the equivalent on the other rotation. Yeah, that hadn't occurred to me, but that's probably
I wonder if that was meant to just be a buffet, right? Like, I wonder if
oh,
I
absolutely.
right, like, I wonder if it was just this other cruise line, right, Genting, that was gonna do this, like, I wonder if that was never going to be a sit-down restaurant, but because Disney needs to have rotational dining, like, it doesn't wanna do something different than rotational dining, it had to use that as sort of for dual purpose, a buffet during part of the day, sit down during dinner time.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a buffet, even when you're getting served there. Like sit down service, it feels like a buffet.
Well, okay, we gotta talk, quick serve food, because I know I'm guessing it sounds like this has been a highlight for a lot of people, that the quick serve food is quite good. What was your impression, and did you get to go to what is it, 4 different ones, I think? Grammatala, Mowgli, kebabs, and I know I'm missing
The
one.
Stitch
Oh, yes.
burgers.
Oh, right. Is it
So
no,
yeah,
yeah, whatever it's called.
Ohana Grill, I think it's
Oh,
called.
Honey Grill. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, no, we loved it. Like, and that took a bit of a reframe too, because I think for after being on the Wonder, in your brain you go to the pool deck for food, right? Pool deck, pool deck, pool deck. And then we'd kind of go up to either the buffet or the pool deck, and the pool deck still had pizzas and stuff. But by day 3, we were like, you got to go down to deck 10. That's where you go for food. Like, and we had 2 lunches every day. We had early lunch and late lunch. Like, so we'd go at
You were living
11:30.
the Hobbit life. You were the
It was that good. We would go at 11:30
Wow.
and then at about 2:30. I really, really enjoyed the quick service food, all of it. Like, yeah, it was just the quality was good. Like I was saying, the variety of food. So if you felt like you could just get whatever you were craving, that sort of feeling of they just covered everything really well. I think very diverse but good quality. Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Okay, the thing I haven't really asked you about is the kids and the kids club, and I'm dying to know because I know how much Nathan enjoys the kids clubs on the ships in the US, but I don't think we've talked to anyone who's had kids that are kids clubs age on the adventure, Lauren. So I gotta know this, the 7-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, did they like the kids clubs? Were they as good as on the Wonder? Were they better? Like, what was their
They were
experience?
better. Definitely
Wow.
better. We did not get one, please come and pick up your child notification in the 7 days we were there. Everyone was so happy. We aged up my daughter, my 10-year-old, so she could go to Edge with her sister. And then she was also in Oceanias too. She could choose. But, you know, my son, I think like he could just live at Oceanias. Like he was so happy there. We'd have to drag him out for food. If we were there before 11 o'clock at night, he'd be like angry, you know, you're here early. What are
Come
you
back at
doing?
midnight, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they like the spaces were just, they're bigger, you know, they are more impressive than on the Wonder just through, you know, sheer size. And yeah, but the kids, they were very happy, all of them. And that like San Francisco area is really cool. Like, you know, it's special. They've done that very, very well. And I think if you've got kids, this is a really great holiday for a family because, yeah, the kids were just so happy. And Kids Club was great. So definitely, recommend for young kids for sure.
Yeah. Well, and Edge and Vibe are right in San Francisco, right? So they can go, and of course they can go in and out as they please, the teens and the tweens. And so they can go and play like the arcade games in San Francisco and kind of wander. And yeah, I have to agree it looks really cool. I haven't experienced it
Yeah.
myself.
We did our muster there. Our
Oh,
muster drill was in San Francisco.
that's
So,
cool.
because there's just a little way, like a little, when we exited, they were like, you get a behind the scenes tour because it just connects out to the deck. It's very close. So that's why I guess they put a muster station there. But yeah, it's just fun space to be in. Like kids definitely gravitate there. It's busy all the time in a nice way. It doesn't feel overwhelmingly busy, but it's very cool.
How did you now I'm imagining these sailings were full because I know this is Easter break for you all. How did you feel, like, sort of walking around the ship? Did spaces you mentioned, San Francisco feeling busy, but not feeling like it was cramped. How did you feel about the other spaces around the ship? Were there places where there were bottlenecks? Did the flow of traffic move okay? I mean, this is something we think about when you think about ship design, right? But, of course, Disney had very little control over that.
Sure. So the first sailing was definitely full. Like when we were at our muster, they were like squish in where, we're at max capacity. The second one, when like I'm just comparing the muster because it seems like the most obvious way to be able to tell, but our muster wasn't as busy the second cruise. So that was getting out of the Easter break a bit more. So that one felt a little quieter. But even still, I mean, I don't think it's, apart from the shows, like getting into the theatre and whatever's happening with the roller coaster, the only other time you'd sort of feel like maybe the drink stations, the drink stations were like hot property there because you're sweating like
Right, so
crazy. So
everybody's
everyone
got a
needs.
soda, yeah.
Exactly. So I think they could have maybe done a few more of those because they were always like, and you line for them in the full sun too. So it was kind of like counterintuitive. But otherwise, I think I can't really remember any time, we went and did, there's like a tea shop on board. So we did a little like high tea and you could just walk up and do that. That was fine. We did karaoke that we didn't have to sort of wait for, everything else I think there was enough going on in the ship to sort of spread everyone out. It felt like for the most part, the shops weren't too busy. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, yeah, what was the merch situation like? Were they well stocked? And I gotta ask about the Duffy merch because that's, of course, of interest to me.
So much Duffy merch. Like if you're a big Duffy person, it's the place for you for sure. The second cruise, though, interestingly, I don't know if it's because it's the 3-night and maybe people come on to shop on those shorter ones rather than the 4-night. But the 4-night, there was merch, which was the busier one. That was the one that was sold out, or it looked sold out. But all the merch was fine. I didn't see anything sort of disappear. The second cruise, though, all the the specialty drink cups that the Snow White bar, they were sold out. A lot of things in the shops by day 3 were gone. So that was just an interesting observation. I don't really understand. All I could think of, my son really liked these little figurines like Captain Mickey and Captain Minnie, and then there was just Donald, Goofy, and they're just in their regular clothes. They're not in like DCL clothes, but people had them by the armfuls, 10 of these figurines. And I was like, what are they doing with those? Like, so I'm not sure if there's like eBay, yeah, sort of situation. But otherwise, like the merch was great. And yeah, I think we got everything that we had our eye on. We didn't have to worry about, there was definitely no queuing, like virtual queues to get into the stores or anything. They were just open and you could come and go. So that was good.
I'm curious now, you mentioned you feel like this ship is really good for families with kids, and your kids, of course, loved being on the Wonder. It sounds like they loved the Adventure. Is this a holiday that you're gonna book again on the Adventure specifically? Because it is right now, it's the closest ship and the only ship you have nearby.
Probably, I wouldn't go just to do that, if that makes sense. If we were in Singapore for another reason, if we almost every Australian who flies to Europe, especially considering what's happening, in the Middle East at the moment, almost always flies through Hong Kong, Singapore. They're sort of hubs. And, if you were doing a stopover on your way somewhere else, I could imagine, a 3-night cruise or something just to break it up would be so, so fun. But no, I don't think we'd go specifically for it. My husband, there's no adult pool area. And that's what he loved on the Wonder. He just loved that like ability to just sit down and read and have a coffee in the morning and a beer in the afternoon. He just really wound down really well on the Wonder. And on this ship, there isn't that space. There's no equivalent of that space. And even there's an obvious spot where you think maybe they were planning
Right,
on
that
putting
is
an adult bar.
infinity bar and the infinity pool.
Exactly.
In fact, I heard that they did convert it for, like, a few hours in the evening to an adult space.
Okay. Maybe,
So,
yeah.
they've sort of started doing that, but it's still not all the time being an adult-only space, and it's still full sunlight. We don't have any shade, right? So
Like, my husband spent a lot of time just in the room, like, because it was
Oh.
cold,
That
had air
makes me so
conditioning.
sad. That makes
I
me so sad,
know.
especially because these rooms are not as nice as the rooms on
Mm,
the Wonder or on
exactly.
any of the other ships. Not that they're I mean, we're hearing from what we're hearing from about the rooms is they're fine. There's nothing, like, wrong with them. They're just yeah, they're just not as quite as nice and quite as big, and, the furnishings are maybe not quite as nice as what you see on the other ships. But that makes me sad that your husband okay, so, I mean, that tells us, though, that tells a
It's
lot,
it's
right?
it's telling me I may not wanna go on the adventure anytime soon
Yeah,
because
because
Yeah.
honestly, like, I'm just not getting
that's
like,
what we like to do,
the
like, your
initial hub
husband
was making me excited, but, like, this is not making me super excited. No, it's I think it's look, we wanna bring a realistic picture of this opportunity to people, and, like, you're not the first person we've talked to who's, been sort of, like,
Yeah,
"It's
and
not great."
especially for someone who's not the real Disney person in the family. My husband, he likes it, don't get me wrong. He's not like anti-Disney by any stretch, but he's not going to find the joy of like running around the ship and doing a million things that like me and my daughters do. Yeah. And it's just so hot.
Well, it also I mean, it seems like look, they have I will say this, from what we have talked to folks about, yes, we've gotten some mixed reviews. There's been some things that have been consistent, which are like San Francisco is an amazing achievement of Disney theming. I know Lou Mangello did a video through there not too long ago, and I was watching, and I was like, "God, that looks like a fabulous place to go hang out." But, there are lots of other things on this ship that are, we even heard from a friend that, so we had Jeremiah on, who loved that show that they had on board Disney Remember, loved it, and then we heard from somebody else, it was like, I walked out, like, 5 minutes into the show, like, I did not wanna be there, like, it was not good Disney storytelling, and so, like, it's been really interesting to see the different reviews coming back from different people.
It just lends to that point that I sort of was saying at the start, where it's like a holiday, it can be so many different things for different people. But on this ship, I think that's a bit harder. It's just more one thing. Does that make sense?
like you said, I mean, on the Wonder, you were able to do the things that you love, the kids are able to do something that they loved, your husband's able to do something that he loves, and then on the Adventure, the kids are happy, it sounds like. It sounds like you're moderately happy or mostly happy, but the husband is not as happy. And so it's if and it if you're investing a lot of money in a vacation, and we know this, Disney Cruise Line is not cheap, whether you're sailing in Singapore, you're sailing in the US, wherever, um, there are cheaper holidays that you can take. And so when you're investing that kind of money, you want everybody to get something out of it and everybody to be happy. And so it sounds like if you have the right expectations and you're okay with that, then you'll have a wonderful time on the adventure, and it sounds like if you're looking for an experience that's identical to the other ships, you might be disappointed. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that's really important, is just expectations. And like, that's what I tried to say to my sister before she got on, was just like, because she'd been on the Wonder as well. It was just more like, just go with the flow on this ship. Like, you've just kind of got to let it go a bit. Like, it's different. But some of the stuff they can't really help. They can't help the heat, I guess. Like, I mean, they could, but it's tricky
They could
because
make it
even
better. They could make better with the shade and fans and things like that.
and even like so I think some of the family spaces did turn to be adult only at about 9 p.m. But there's a bar attached to Palo, and it's gorgeous. Again, the theming was beautiful. It looked so nice, but you sit down and it's just so stiflingly hot, like just some fans or something to just, you could only really sit there for 20 minutes and then be like, nah, I've got to go inside, sort of, which is a shame because these spaces are just kind of empty. They're not well patronized because it's just too hot.
That's so sad because if you've got, 6,000 passengers and you wanna spread them out, and you have the space to spread them out, but people aren't utilizing the space in the way that you would expect them to because of that. Yeah, that's a bummer. Now, Lauren, before I subject you to rapid fire, is there anything that we've missed? I mean, we've covered a lot of topics. I'm not sure if we've missed anything on the way, and so that's why I wanted to ask.
I
Okay,
think
good.
that's everything. It's interesting about the Remember show because I think speaking of expectations, I went into that with very high expectations. Wally was amazing, and Wally does kind of a duet with Ariel that's just like the best. But I think the ship could really use like its own, the one that has Frozen. And I know you guys get like Moana and Hercules, like, something like that would just be, I would love if they put a,
Yeah,
production
a
on
full
there.
production that's
Yeah,
not a jukebox show. Although everybody's
exactly.
saying Remember Me is wonderful and Seize the Adventure is wonderful,
Yeah,
but it's still not the same as having like a feature film that's been made into a
exactly.
musical. Yeah.
Yeah, because like even after, three goes on the Wonder, we were still going to see Frozen. We might not see the others, but you'd go to Frozen. Whereas this one kind of, it just really needed. It would have been nice for it to have like a big show. Um, yeah, which is just probably expectations again. So
Well, the problem is that with that theater not being big enough on a 3 and 4 night sailing, they can't have more than 2 shows, right? And so they designed Remember for this ship. They didn't have to do Seize the Adventure, but it was an easy one for them to do, right? Because they've done it on the other ships. So I think I completely agree with you. I think it would be better if they did Remember and, let's say, Hercules or something like this, but they don't have to because this is a new audience who hasn't seen Seas the Adventure before, and it's easy for them to port it over there as opposed to putting on one of these other productions. So, yeah, it's
and
a bit
like
of
you
a
say, they've
bummer.
just got to put each show on 4 or 5 times to fit everyone in. So yeah, there's just not the capacity
Yeah.
to do it, which is a shame. But
Yeah,
maybe one
unless they
day.
switch unless they switch to itineraries that are not 3 and 4 nights, right? If they switch to longer itineraries, but I don't see that happening in her first 5 years, right? She's sailing out of Singapore on sailings to nowhere, and so unless they change that, which I don't see that happening in the first 5 years, um, I think we'll see this continuation and maybe they'll spruce things up here and there and make operational changes to deal with like the character demand, to deal with, what things that aren't working operationally. Maybe they'll get some shade. Um, you know, that would be helpful. But
I would love if they added some port stops because I mean it's so beautiful around that part of the world, Malaysia, Thailand, all these amazing, that would probably get us back, to be honest, if they started doing port stops. But while they're just kind of doing the floating around. Although the seas are so calm, sometimes you feel like you're not even moving compared to Australian waters. And like, I don't know, I imagine definitely the Pacific coast of America, I imagine is quite similar, but this was like a bath. It was so still.
All right. Well, Sam, I think we have reached that point in the show where you get to ask some arbitrary questions, apply some arbitrary rules, and exercise more than a dash of judgment, or the round we know as rapid fire. So, Sam, take it away.
All right, Lauren, you knew this was coming. I'm going to be asking you some Disney favorites and then some Disney Cruise Line favorites. We're going to start with who is your favorite Disney character? And Disney means anything and everything that Disney owns.
Probably Donald.
Yeah, I love that. Brian's favorite character is Donald as well. It's Donald. I feel like if Donald is your number one, as he's our number one, it takes a certain kind of person. So I and I don't mean I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing it out because I have
something about me.
Well, Sam, you cannot claim to be. You're not trying to claim to be a Donald number one fan, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Personality type needed.
No, I'm saying that Lauren has a personality type like yours, Brian. I love Donald too, but Donald's not he's not my favorite character, but he's Brian's favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
So
passionate. Donald is passionate.
I just like maybe it's the teacher in me, but I'm like I can't blame Donald for being the way he is. But with all those like cheeky things going on around him, like he's just doing the best he can.
He's trying to live his life and wrong. I mean, they put him on a cruise ship in uniform, and they don't give him any sort of maritime responsibility. I mean, come on, poor guy.
He's wrong. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Lauren, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Oh, my kids and I were talking about this yesterday because they listen to your show too. It's on in the car, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to get the questions and the answers, and what are you going to say?" And honestly, this one last night I was thinking about it in bed. I think I have to say Moana. I think I love Lin-Manuel. I just love the songs. I think that's what kind of got me back into Disney with my kids. Moana.
You get when you choose anything that involves Lin-Manuel Miranda, you get no judgment from me because he's a genius. I love everything he touches turns to gold. Even some stuff he did for competitors of Disney, I thought there was an animated film, I can't remember the name of it, that he did all the music for. This was, I think, before he did Moana. And it was so good. Like all the music in that film was so good.
I'll have to Google it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, after the show, maybe I'll find it for you, Lauren. All right.
Yeah, great.
What is your favorite Disney song? Speaking of music,
so probably I think a toss-up between a Hawaiian roller coaster ride from Lilo and Stitch. My daughter calls that our family national anthem, which is hilarious because we're Australian.
We're not Hawaiian.
But she just loves Stitch so much, and we always put that song on whenever we're going on a holiday or like an adventure, or it's like our, we just get really into that song.
It's like your National Lampoon's theme song. Ryan puts on that song Holiday Road from National Lampoon's, and whenever we're going on vacation, Holiday Road. Yeah, and that's so the Hawaiian roller coaster ride is your family's Holiday Road.
Exactly. So I love that one. That one's just sentimental. And then I think what's the song from Tangled? At last I see the light. Is that what it's? Yeah. My daughter did like ballet to that when she was 4, and I can't like hear it without tearing up. So
oh, I love that. Okay, we're gonna jump onto a Disney Cruise Line ship, and we're gonna stay in the theater category. What is your favorite Walt Disney Theater stage show on Disney Cruise Line?
Frozen. Yeah. But I wish I had another show of that caliber to compare it to, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, but Frozen is a wonderful production. It's definitely one of the top. I will say, while it's not my number one because I've seen all the other ones, it is in the top group of productions on Disney Cruise Line. It is a fabulous production. I say this all the time. It's better than the Broadway version. It's better than the version that they used to have at California Adventure in the Hyperion Theater. the Disney Cruise Line version is just phenomenal. So, so good. All right. Favorite onboard activity on Disney Cruise Line?
Honestly, we did on this cruise, which is not unique to obviously to the adventure. You can do it anyway. But Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique was, I thought my kids had aged out of it. Even 2 years ago when we first went, we didn't book it. And then my daughter's 12 and she knew that this was like her last chance. She was like, oh, I can't go after this. Can you book it? And we just, oh my gosh, it was just gorgeous. We bought dresses from home because didn't feel like they wanted to do the full princess thing. So they kind of got some inspired princess sort of dresses. You could tell that they were Rapunzel. My youngest was Rapunzel, my oldest was Aurora. And that was gorgeous. And then we went and got that high tea. We did the tea on board.
With them in their dresses and all.
And I'm going to remember that day forever. I've no doubt. It was a really beautiful day. So I think that's probably our favorite so far. On the Wonder, though, I definitely, just a special mention for the adult pool deck. And my husband and I, at that time, I think our youngest, the first cruise, he was 4. We hadn't had a date in 10 years. I'm sure we had, but it just, and the ability, that first cruise, we spent more time together that cruise in 3 nights than we had for years and years. And I think that was really special, just to have that the kids are close and they're safe, and then there's somewhere else for you to go that feels a bit special, you're not in parent mode. You're really, I don't know. Yeah.
Relaxed and able to enjoy with your partner and reconnect.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that we love about cruising in general. We get that opportunity knowing that Nathan is safe and happy. And frankly, he would rather be at Edge than be hanging out with us.
It's the same with my kids too. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to talk food real quick here. Favorite rotational dining restaurant, and this could be from the Wonder or the Adventure, but what was your favorite restaurant of all?
The Hollywood Spotlight Club. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. We got to talk some favorite food items. I want a favorite sweet item, and then I want a favorite savory item. We start with the sweets because I like the savories the best, and we save the best for last. So a favorite sweet item on a Disney cruise. It could be, again, the Adventure or the Wonder. You don't have to choose just the most recent.
This one was on the Adventure. It was, again, at that Hollywood Spotlight Club. It was like an ube, I think it was a crème brûlée.
Crème brûlée. This is hilarious. Claire, who I talked to this morning, said the same thing. That she had ube crème brûlée. I swear to God.
It's so good.
She said,
Yeah, I was spewing. I didn't have it the first rotation. Even the menu's the same, obviously, at Navigators, and I had something else. And then on the second one, and I was like, oh, I've missed my chance to get it again. It was so good. Yeah.
Oh, love that. Awesome. All right, a favorite savory item.
This one is so hard because, like I said, that level 10 or deck 10 area was just so good. I loved almost everything that I ate there. They also at that Hollywood Club had this sauteed mushroom in Australia we call entrees the starters. They had a starter that was a mushroom dish, which was fantastic. And then at Stitch they had a gochujang, like a Korean
Korean
burger.
Barbecue.
That was really good. But even just the, chicken rice, such a Singaporean staple. They had that at Grandma Tala's, I think. And that was delicious. You just can't go wrong with food there. Maybe I will go back just to eat.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that makes me want to go is that honestly that food sounds incredible. Okay, well, the real question though really is, Lauren, which ship is your favorite? You've got the Wonder, and I want you to set aside what your husband would answer, because we know your husband would answer the Wonder, right? No question, he likes the adult area. He would say the Wonder. What would you personally say? Do you prefer the Wonder or the Adventure?
I would love to try the Adventure in a more temperate climate. just like where the nights are cool and you can enjoy the pool deck and the funnel vision and stuff. Like we didn't sit down and watch a movie, it's too hot, all that stuff that we enjoyed on the Wonder, but that's not really the ship's, exactly. So it's hard to know if the Adventure moved or had port stops. I would probably say the Adventure. As it stands now, though, where it's just sailing around, the issues with the roller coaster, I'd probably say the Wonder. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. I mean, it's interesting, but there are different reasons to like different ships, and it sounds like it sounds like the Adventure is a great ship, but there's some drawbacks to where it is and some operational things that they need to work through. So, yeah.
And
Wow.
I mean, it's hard too because you're impacted by, obviously, if my husband's not having a great time, but my kids are having a great time. So it's like you're pushed and pulled in a few different directions with this ship, whereas the Wonder was just more
Just leave him at
everyone.
home. No, just kidding.
I did say that. I was like, you can pay and then just stay home.
Yeah, I'll just eat your crème brûlée, your ube crème brûlée, and my crème
For
brûlée.
those not watching, I am shaking my head in disapproval.
We're just joking. This is rapid fire. Just kidding.
Oh, sure.
All right, Lauren. Well, the last question of every rapid fire is, what is your bucket list cruise? Where would you go anywhere in the world on a Disney Cruise Line ship? So it has to be someplace accessible by water, but that's really the only rule. It doesn't even have to be someplace Disney Cruise Line currently goes. Like, where would you, if you could put the Adventure, I guess, anywhere in the world, right? Where would you want to sail?
I'd love to do the Asian islands. Like, I think it's just in a great spot for opportunity for amazing port stops because, Asia, it's gorgeous, and Thailand, and there's some just stunning beaches and places you could go.
But
So
you're
I
going to be in
hope
the
that.
heat, Lauren. You're going to be in the heat
Yeah,
and humidity.
I know. They just need shade and fans and misters to cool down the pool deck so you can walk in bare feet. Just something to deal with the heat. I don't know. And also being able to, exactly. But even just being able to get off the ship for a while, I wonder would increase your, like where I was saying my husband would spend a couple of hours during the day in the room. Like if you're out and about doing a port adventure or exploring a beach or, that's a very different experience. And then you come back and at night you can enjoy because it's a bit cooler. The adult spaces kind of turn into adult spaces at 9 p.m. So yeah, it would be a mix of like best of both worlds in that sense, I guess. And as well, like even just Hong Kong Disney, there's so many cool options available to them in that neck of the woods that I hope that they decide to do something, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. To be determined, I guess.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That is the way to end it. Yep. Yes. So, well, Sam, are you all good? Have you got all your questions asked?
Done. She passed with flying colors. Yeah.
Right.
And now I gotta go to Singapore now to try the darn ube creme brulee, even though I don't even like creme brulee. I do like ube, but I don't like creme brulee.
Well, Lauren, your name will forever be etched in the halls and annals of the DCL Duo podcast rapid fire guests who've passed. Asterisk, no such book actually exists. But but Lauren, we'd love to thank you for coming on the show today, sharing your experiences traveling to visit the Disney Adventure. And Sam, unless you have any other questions,
Ryan,
yeah,
you got to ask your question.
Well, we're already an hour and 24 minutes into this episode, but sure. What's next? What's next, Lauren?
Well, we didn't get a placeholder for this one. We did get one, though, on the Wonder, so we do still have an active one. But I think we'll probably wait for the Tokyo ship. I think Japan's, at the top of our list as most people, I think, these days. So we're keen to head over there. And again, a holiday that's not just the cruise, you're doing other things. I think that'll be what we'll do next. Maybe the States, we'll just wait and see. But yeah, I think Tokyo probably for us next.
Well, Lauren, thanks again.
See you there.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Yeah.
Well, Lauren, thanks again for taking the time out of your day to come on the show all the way to us from Australia. And if you're listening to us overseas, UK, Australia, continental Europe, anywhere, we'd love to hear about your experiences with Disney Cruise Line. Be sure to reach out, and we're always happy to schedule something special to coordinate with your time zones. But for now, we'll just thank Lauren for coming on and say thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern over on youtube.com/DCL Duo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes, so please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCLDuo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So DCLDuo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@DCLDuo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.